true story. And I'm not talking that the $75,000 for a tweet was Kim Kardashian. I'm saying it was a 14-year-old girl who had a YouTube show and talked about makeup. That was literally how much she wanted to make one YouTube video where she says, oh, I use this editing app called PixArt. And you have to go through looking at every single one of those YouTube videos. Like I saw so many YouTube videos of young girls doing their makeup or their hair because our demographic is girls between the ages of 14 to 24. So you have to do your homework. It wasn't pleasant, but I did it. You need to figure out what you want them to do and get very clear about what you want them to do. Because especially with influencers, you're talking about money. You're paying them to do something. You're dealing with their agents. You're dealing with your lawyer. You're trying to figure out, like, is it one tweet? Is it two? Is it an Instagram post? Is it not? Is it a Facebook post? How much is it going to be? So you have to get really clear about what you want from them, and then you have to figure out if it's worth it. Sometimes one mention with someone that has 1 million followers but really low engagement, it's not worth it. This is a demonstration of Wirecast. To be honest, the sweet spot and kind of where you want to land are people that have about 10,000 followers and get between 1,500 to 2,000 likes. That gets you the most bang for your buck in terms of like influencers. And you also want to identify like the right people to target. Like we had influencers and we were going to pay them and they were going to be cool fashion bloggers, makeup girls. But we also had the people that were already in our app that were part of our core. And we needed to figure out a way of engaging them too. And they were going to be our ambassadors. And we had to ask ourselves, like, are they part of our core? Like, do they like our brand? Like, are they worth the hype? That 14-year-old girl that needed $75,000 to do a tweet was not worth the hype. Not for us. She's probably worth it for other brands. But you have to go through kind of like the motion of figuring out who they are. This is my big kind of takeaway at the bottom is like social media stalking your target audience and who they follow is really good. Really, really good. Get deep into it. Deep into their photos, deep into their followers, learn to get to know their life. You really want to get to know who it is you're trying to target and who your audience is. Then invite only the right people. And this one's a little tricky because I'd like to tell you that we didn't invite the wrong people, but we did. And it was a learning experience. You just did. But we needed to, I feel, push back a little bit more in terms of lessons. Rather than just saying, well, we want 14 to 24-year-old girls and this one girl seems like she's really great, let's just do it. I really needed to ask myself, are they a fit? Because we're a creative platform and we're a photo editing app, it was important to us to have people that were creative, that believed in artistry, that wanted to edit their photos differently, that were just not like pointing, like sort of like I took a photo of me in my outfit and I posted it. And we found some really amazing people, but some other people just weren't the right fit, and we didn't ask the right questions. How do you want them to get involved is important. Do you want them to blog for you? Do you want them to host an event for you? Do you want them to post content for you? What is it that you really want from them? It's really key. Do they use your product? We actually found a blogger that used PixArt to edit a lot of her photos. So when we approached her and said, hey, I know you're a fashion blogger and you have a really great aesthetic and we would like you to come into the app, get into our community, start posting, and then go into your other communities and talk about why you're a PixArt member. She was really excited. She knew who we were. She knew PixArt was a photo editor. She didn't know we had a community on top of that. And she was just really excited to be a part of it. And it was an easier conversation. So finding people that know a bit about your brand will make conversations easier. You need to know how much they charge. Also uncomfortable kind of conversation to have, but you should go in with the idea that a lot of influencers and ambassadors may want compensation. And you either have it or you don't. If you don't, that's fine. You might be able to find super fans that will do it for free. But usually, typically, people are expecting a bit of compensation. How big is their sphere of influence? And that was a bit of what I touched based on just previously saying the sweet spot of engagement. There's a lot of bots. And a lot of people purchase bots to increase their followings. And Instagram has a big bot problem, so does Twitter. And so sometimes you might look at someone that has 100,000 followers, a million followers. You're like, this is great. And then they're asking you based on that amount of followers how much they want to charge you. But if their engagement's 100 likes, they don't have a million followers. It's just not real. And if they do have engagement that's that low, then their content maybe isn't worth it. Maybe people keep following them just because, but they're not really engaging with them. So engagement is way more important than followers. So don't listen to the follower trap. So a little takeaway here. It is about quality and not quantity. And in the end, the most passionate people, not the loudest people, the people with more followers, are really going to do the best work. They're going to be your best evangelist. Ask. I know that sounds really simple, but I actually struggled with it. When we first started, we did all of our, what do we want them for? Where should they go? But we looked at some people that I thought were maybe too cool. I was like, oh, she's too cool. Wirecast. She's a very big fashion blogger. I just don't think she'll want to join. Our budget was really small. This is what we're paying. I don't think she'll ever take it. And my boss said, just ask. Send her an email. Tell her who we are, what we do, what we're building. Tell her how much we're willing to pay, and then ask. And we actually got a few people that I assumed were no's to say yes. So ask. Ask influencers how they see the brand fitting with their lifestyle and why they should work with you. It's part of sort of weeding out bad people. If you say, this is what we do you think it's a fit? Some of them will be like, oh yes, I would love to edit, wings to my fashion photos, and I think it'll look really cute, and I see that Pixar's a really great tool for doing that. Perfect. Doesn't happen all the time. Also, ask ambassadors, and this is for your power users, not necessarily influencers that you're paying, how they want to be involved. So when we started our ambassador program within people that were using our app, we went to 10 power users, and we asked them if we were to create an ambassador program, which we're planning on doing, and we were to give you badges that say you're a Pixar ambassador, and you would be able to answer questions in the community and feel like you are kind of a little bit above our everyday users. Does that sound like something you would want? What else would you want? And they came up with really great ideas. We have a card on our app that gives people daily inspiration. So it tells you, today's daily inspiration is still life. And people will take photos of still life, and then we'll choose the best. They said, we want to know 1 week ahead of time what the daily inspirations are for the following week, so that we can make the best edits and take the best photographs, and we can just always be ahead of the curve. I didn't think that was valuable. They thought that was really valuable. That's great. I didn't know unless I asked. So ask your community what's meaningful to them. Ask them what they want from you, what they would like the brand to do for them that would be extra. If they're going to become ambassadors, what would make them become ambassadors? What would make them stay? They actually know better than you do. So ask them. Also, ask advocates. People that you might not think are ready to be ambassadors, your fans. Ask them if they want to become ambassadors, and if they did, why they want to become ambassadors. So one thing that was my favorite thing was I asked everyone to tell me a story about a favorite experience with Pixar. Just why do you use it? What does it mean to you? And even to influencers who were not necessarily using the app, I said, download the app, play with it, and then I want you to tell me what made you smile, what made you happy, what was great about Pixar. And we got some really, really great stories. As a matter of fact, 2 of our ambassadors are married, and they met in the app. And they met from 2 different countries, which is really strange. Philippines and Italy. They were both really into photography. They started critiquing their photos. Then they started Skyping to talk about art. Then they flew to meet each other, and then they got married. So when I said, we didn't know this, this wasn't public, and they had never shared that. And when I said, hey, so-and-so, what is your favorite thing about Pixar? He said, that's where I met the love of my life. I was like, what? What do you mean? Then they told us a story, which we were able to use on our blog for press with them. It was just a great selling point, and now I'm sharing it with you, and it's just oh, that's so cute. But that's something we didn't know unless we asked. So ask a lot of questions. It's really important. Manage. I'm assuming most people here are community managers. Yeah? Yay?
This is a
And I'm assuming most of you are trying to start
Wirecast.
some sort of ambassador program. Great. So you know that you have to give really clear guidelines and deliverables. You also have to share your brand guidelines. So, for example, for us, the logo that people can use, the way that they can speak about Pixar, language, branding, it's really important. So we give them our brand kit from the outset. This is how you can talk about Pixar. This is what we do. This is the words you can use. This is the words you can use. This is the logo. They love it because they feel like insiders. Like you'll sound like this is everything you need to know. Share product expertise. I talked about earlier when I said we actually train them to know a little bit about product support and what our product does and how it does it. And also, if we ever have some sort of downtime in the app, they're the first people to know. I immediately message them when I hear from our ops team saying, hey, by the way, the app is down, or the app is going to be down for maintenance, or comments might not be working. Can you keep an eye out? And again, that just makes them feel like they're part of something greater than themselves. Like they're like, oh God, it's like I work there, but not really. Make it a community. We're community managers. We know how important it is to have relationships. Introduce them to one another. So we created a Facebook group, which was the simplest thing to do. We added all of them there, and they talk to each other. They have questions, they talk to each other. They want to learn how to do something, they talk to each other. And I've told them,
this
like,
is a demonstration
I'm happy to answer your questions, but I should be your last line of resource. You should just like self-police within yourselves, and I'm really happy about that. It's really great. Some of them have becoming friends. They're all over the world. It's really, really cute. And then I give them clear deliverables and tasks, and I check in very often. And this one's not only for our ambassadors, but also for our influencers. So when you're paying someone to do something, you should get your bang for your buck. So on the outset, we set pretty clear contracts that say you're for X amount of money, you're posting on Instagram about Pixar 3 times, you're joining our community and posting this many photos weekly or this many photos monthly, you are liking this many posts, and I need to see that you're doing these things. And sometimes they try to wiggle their way out of it, especially the ones with like stronger followings. They'll say, oh, I'll post on my Instagram once. And I'm like, no, you know, when we signed that contract and I said that you were going to post 3 times, you've only posted once. I need you to post 2 other times.
This is a demonstration
because
of
that's in our
Wirecast.
contract. And bring up the contract. Oh yeah, get contracts if you're going to pay people. It's really important to do that. So my thing is, everything is better with friends. So introduce your ambassadors to your influencers, and your influencers to your ambassadors. Make a little community. They'll love it. It's really great. Manage, but let it go. Really, let it go. If you try to control everything that they do, it's bad.
This is a demonstration
it's going to feel like too much.
Wirecast.
Like, give them guidelines, be stern about what you wanted. Like, if someone's like, oh, I only posted once, it's like, no, that's not okay. But if they're using your app or using your product or doing something with your product in a different way that they could probably do it in a way that you never imagined, that's unexpected and amazing. So kind of like, let it be. All right. Ask me anything. That was quick. I pass it around, right? Yeah. Okay.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
Talking about influencers, and essentially you're paying for play. But a theme that we hear a lot is about authenticity. That you want any kind of engagement, you want some kind of authentic. So when you've got influencers who have huge followings, isn't it at odds that people understand that they're posting about things they really don't care about? I'm not talking about you specifically, I'm just talking about in general. About this brand or this restaurant or this store. So how do you balance that? And don't the followers understand that it's really not authentic voice, it's not really their opinions, but it's some kind of product placement, even if they're not aware of the machinations of what goes on behind it? It
kind of doesn't matter. I believe that now we've crossed this line where we understand that social media isn't as authentic as we thought it was.
This is a demonstration
I think
of
everyone knows
Wirecast.
it. If you look at my Instagram, you think I live a really cool life. I will never take a photo of myself watching Netflix, and that's literally what I do most of the time. There's no photos of me working. There's no photos of me without makeup on and looking bad. Everyone knows it. Like it's a known fact. And you know, now they've decided there's a law that says if someone's sponsoring a post, you should say it's sponsor. It's still really effective, even when you add that sponsor post. And to be honest with you, I
This
agree
is
with
a
authenticity. I'm actually a huge
demonstration
fan
of
of being
Wirecast.
authentic. And one of the things that I thought we could have done better, and I sort of briefly mentioned, was it was better to work with people that were really excited about Pixar, truly. Either because they downloaded it when I asked them and played with it, and then they gave me a story about what they felt about the app, and that felt authentic. That was a lot better than the people that were like, okay, so I need $350, and that's fine. That's all. Great. I'll do it tomorrow. Great.
This is a
That wasn't a really great
demonstration of
experience. So
Wirecast.
there is a balance that you need to find. So yes, there is an authenticity in social media. We know about it. Users that follow people know about it, and they're okay with it. And brands have moved to, it's not going away. It's a part of who we are. It's just happening. And then there's the other part of someone might actually like your brand, and someone might actually have affinity to it, and someone might actually want to use it even whether you contacted them or not. For example, one of my coworkers is an
This is a
influencer,
demonstration
and
of
she has a really large
Wirecast.
following, and she's great, and she's actually helped shape our influencer program a lot. And she just did a sponsor post by Zappos and Timbuktu, and they gave her a bag, and they paid her, but she loved the bag, and she went on a hike that she really enjoyed, and then she posted a photo of herself on the top of a mountain after a hike that she really enjoyed. That was a very authentic moment. She really enjoyed the bag, and she really enjoyed going on this hike that was prompted by the bag, and she
This
mentioned
is a
Zappos and Timbuktu
demonstration
and
of
thanked them and said
Wirecast.
sponsor, but the moment was actually authentic. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay, great. Well.
You talk a lot about asking your ambassadors, and I'm building an ambassador program for a more technical product, and we're not going to be paying anyone. But what kind of way did you reach out and do phone calls, or did you just send a lot of emails back and forth, or and then did you ask them individually, or did
This
you
is a
ask like in a
demonstration
big
of
group and kind of spark
Wirecast.
discussion that way?
So we have an ambassador program that's separate from the influencers program that we don't pay them at all, and that's our Team Beautify. They're like our elite people, and so we made sure that we were finding people that loved our product a lot, and that the product meant something to them in their lives. Not everyone found the love of their lives. We're not a dating site, but someone did. It's great, and they're part of our group.
This is a
I send
demonstration
individual
of
emails,
Wirecast.
and I tailor it to them. So, for example, some people in our app use our app for drawing. Some people use our app for photography. Some people use our app for heavy editing. So they make very surreal, cool editings. I made sure I said what I admired about their profile. If it's something technical, and I'm just thinking about like a GitHub, you can say, "Wow, your repos on this are like really, really good," and make sure you say why. And what it
This
is,
is a
and then ask them
demonstration of
personally. I don't believe
Wirecast.
in mass emails; they're not as effective. That they're mass, and not that you wouldn't answer. You're less likely to if it feels mass, because you're like, oh, they sent it to 20 people, so it's fine. Whether I respond or not, it's fine. It's kind of like a friend inviting you to a party. If they invite everyone, you're kind of like, other people are gonna go because he invited everyone. But if you get one text saying, "Can you come to my party?" You're like, I'm gonna go because maybe it's just me. I don't know. Does that make sense? Yeah.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.
This kind of goes to what you were just saying in terms of mass emails. We have a student ambassador program. I like to say coach instead of manage. 50 ambassadors that are law students right now. And something I'm faced as we scale is there's one of me and a lot of them. And what are some sort of tools or tactics that you use in addition to the Facebook group and saying, hey, I'm like the last line of kind of defense in terms of questions? Like, are there any tools or tactics that you recommend as you
demonstration
scale?
of Wirecast.
So I try to be very consistent. In our Facebook group, I have 3 different posts that go consistently once a week. So on Wednesdays is Community Update Wednesdays. I write a blog post on our blog about the community, and I ask them for ideas every Wednesday, and I ask them for feedback. Like I wrote a post about creativity, and I asked them to tell me about their creative process. So they know that every Wednesday I'm going to ask them about the blog the following week. And then on
This is a
Fridays, I
demonstration
have
of Wirecast.
Daily Inspiration Fridays, and that means that's when I post all the daily inspirations that are going to happen the following week. So consistent communication. If you know that they're scaling, but you say, you can expect an email from me with everything you need to know this date, then you're kind of like telling them, like, they know that there's 100 people and that you might not be able to answer to all of them. And I was talking to someone about, so our ambassadors, the ones we don't pay, are actually not in the U.S.
This is a
So,
demonstration of
and
Wirecast.
because they're a Facebook group, they have access to my Facebook Messenger. And that's, on Saturday, I went out, and then I got home, it was like 12:30 or something. I had a couple drinks, and one of the ambassadors was freaking out because someone was bullying someone in the app. And they're like, oh my God, Bea, you need to do something. And I literally was very candid with him and was like, I just had 3 drinks. It's Saturday in San Francisco, and it's midnight. I don't think I can help you. I'm so sorry. And he was fine. Like the next day, he was like, oh, I'm sorry, I keep
This is
forgetting
a
about the time
demonstration
difference.
of Wirecast.
My apologies. So they know if it's just you that you're human, that you have a life, that there's weekends, that you don't live for them. And as much as you can humanize yourself, I think that really helps because now they know not to bother me on the weekends because he actually posted on that. Just woke up, Bea, hearty heart. Like, I guess she sleeps right now. And then everyone was commenting, sorry, Bea. I was like, it's fine. So yeah, be honest about that it's just you.
This is a
For
demonstration
the ambassadors
of
program,
Wirecast.
when you're actually looking to source people from the community, do you have a registration form or like do you have a portal or a formal process around like, because obviously you've got a huge community and reaching out one-on-one to all, several thousand people isn't really scalable or doable. Do you have a portal or some sort of system or like approval process to get them into the ambassador program?
So this is for scaling. So we started with 40 people. And now we have 60, so it's not as big as you might think it is in
This
terms of
is a
community.
demonstration
But
of
we want to grow
Wirecast.
it. And so what I have is a referral program. So when we started with 30 people, those were the 30 most active community members who had shared the most amount of photos, who had engaged the most times, who had had some relationship with our support folks. So we send them an email. And then when we had them on board and now we've had the Facebook group for a year. So we had them on board for 3 months. We said, okay, you can nominate 2 other people from the community that you know have high quality work that isn't stolen. It's actually
This
a problem
is
in
a
our community.
demonstration of
is
Wirecast.
Photos and likes. Some people steal photos and it's not great. So it's like original content, really highly engaged, and someone you really admire. And then they did. And when they share those people, then I reach out only to those people. And I do it over email. And I do have a form because you need a legal form that says they are not going to share information. You're sharing a lot of product features and information with them ahead of time. So you need to have an NDA. You need to make sure they're not working for a competitor. They need to make sure their family members don't work for a
This is
competitor.
a
So we do
demonstration
have a
of
form, but I send that
Wirecast.
form over email. Now we're trying to grow the program to be 100 to 200 people by next year. And I've done the recommendation, and I have the people in the recommendation on a spreadsheet, but I'm actually going to write a blog post and a post in the community and say you need to follow these questions. And so we created a form that says, how many followers do you have? How long have you been in PixArt? Tell us a bit about you and how you use PixArt. Why is this important to you? Out of community members, who do you follow and who do you admire? And
This
hopefully
is a
they'll add
demonstration
some
of
other people that
Wirecast.
we already have in Team Beautify. And then I'll let you know how that goes. I don't know. So hopefully well.
Hey, very much related to the information you just provided on metrics. You mentioned you're like at 40, 50 ambassadors, I believe right now you want to go to 200. So what I'm actually really also trying to figure out right now,
This
what's the
is a
right size of
demonstration of
ambassadors?
Wirecast.
Like if you have experience, I mean, what your experience is, or any benchmarks you looked at. For example, ambassadors versus influencers versus fans versus users. Is it kind of a relationship in numbers? And also, what is too big, right? Because you want to have this community feel. If it's like 50,000 people, it's no longer a community. What's the right number?
I hate saying this, but it depends.
This is a
It really depends
demonstration
on your
of
community.
Wirecast.
And for us, smaller is better. We have 75 million monthly active users, but not all of our active users are community members. Very small subset of those are community members. And we're trying to grow the engaged community. And so for us, that means starting small and really getting to know what they want from the product and what it means to be an active member in the community. Because as we're also
This
trying
is
to
a
grow our regular
demonstration of
community, they're kind
Wirecast.
of like our focus group. And so for us, starting small was really great. In terms of influencers, I would say 10 to 12 is probably good. I mean, unless you have a really crazy budget. But even if you have a crazy budget, you don't want to be running too many sponsored campaigns. And that's to your point, and I actually can read your name tag in the pink sweater. You, yes. When you said authenticity, 12 people talking
This
about your
is a
brand, when you pay them, you
demonstration
might
of
have 2
Wirecast.
people that sound really schmarmy, and then you might have other people that are doing a really great job at sounding like they're genuine. So you don't want to have too many because then you'll have a lot of inauthenticity. And that's probably not good. However, for example, Yelp, you know Yelp Elites, those are thousands upon thousands of people that are Yelp Elites. And that works for Yelp. I'm sure they started small and they started scaling. And I mean, we would like to have everyone in the world use Pixar and have like a lot of people, and we would like people
This
to
is a
self-organize and have
demonstration of
like Pixar
Wirecast.
meetups that they're doing on their own. We're not there yet. And so I think it really depends on what you need. And when I was talking about doing your homework and really researching, you have to talk to your leadership and be like, what is the goal of this program? Is it like quantity? Is it you want 1,000 people wearing hoodies from my company? Because that's easy. You just ship them. And you tell them that they're ambassadors, and that's it. That's the easiest thing in the world. It's like, yeah, we have 1,000 people that have hoodies, and they wear them all the time. But it's what is it that
This
you
is a
really want?
demonstration
We
of
want product
Wirecast.
support. We want high quality photos uploaded into the app. We want a lot of engagement, and that comes with a lot more care. So you can't scale as quickly. You have to be, 30, 40, 50, 100. And then we also started it as a pilot. We knew that if it didn't work, we might have to say bye. And we did the same thing with the influencers. If we weren't seeing up in downloads, if we weren't seeing an up in engagement, if we weren't seeing
This
people
is
really
a
appreciating the
demonstration of
influencers' content,
Wirecast.
then that wasn't worth it. So sorry, but it's up to you. I hate, that's a lame answer, but sorry.
You said earlier, can you hear me? That there were some people that weren't good fits. Like, can you give us examples of that and like what you did to fix that or reroute or pivot?
Not naming names.
This is a demonstration of
We
Wirecast.
found a photographer who was really, really good, very high quality, a lot of surreal edits, which is very much what you see in our app. And I don't know if you guys have seen the new Coldplay video. That's very surreal kind of things are happening. So a lot of that like really looks like things that people do in our app. Like, having a floating whale over a landscape, very much ours. And we found someone that did that. And they do it in Photoshop, but it's really great. And we reached out
This is a
and we
demonstration
said what we
of
wanted and we signed
Wirecast.
contracts and it was great. And then I was sending, I was doing monthly emails being like, how are we doing? How's everyone feeling? What have you done? Send me, your invoices. How's everything? And then I was checking profiles and his just wasn't very active at all. And the post on Instagram barely mentioned us. he said there's other tools outside of Photoshop you can use. Have you tried PixArt? That wasn't approved copy.
This is
It
a
was kind of like
demonstration
a
of Wirecast.
and he actually said, I use Photoshop, but. And I was like, oh, no, no. And so I emailed him and said, hey, this isn't great. What's going on? And then I got on a call with him, and I said, it just doesn't seem like you're excited. It doesn't seem like it's the right fit. I'm sure you're busy, and there's other things that you're doing. But we want to open the program for other people that might be more helpful. Thank you.
This is a demonstration
That was
of
that. No hard feeling.
Wirecast.
I mean, he's super popular and doing great. I'm sure other brands are all about him. Yeah. Yay? All right, that's it. Awesome.
Thank you, Bea. I just forgot to mention that there are free T-shirts here, TechSoup T-shirts. If anybody wants one, take them. And also, there's a whiteboard right there that says we're trying
This is a
to name a
demonstration
program
of
that we're about to
Wirecast.
launch. So if you guys want to stick some dots on what out of those three choices, what you think is the best. I think there's a write-in candidate actually. So there's actually 4. So you're welcome to. Other than that, hang out, drink, be merry, connect with each other. Next month, we are having Mobilize.io, Nina from Mobilize.io, speaking next, whatever, I don't remember the date, but it's the fourth Wednesday as usual. And then in July or August, we are having
This is a
your group
demonstration of
measured
Wirecast.
twice. And so we are always looking for speakers. Contact me if you're interested. I may or may not say yes, but I'd love to talk to you. And thank you very much. Bye. And thank you, Yvonne, for rocking the live stream.
This is a demonstration of Wirecast.